Okay, we're back at it, I think.
There we go.
That's me. Okay, so just to begin our discussion, Ted, I was wondering if you could just tell us a bit about yourself and what's led you to the position you're in today in your life.
Well, I have to tell you, I think a lot about what has led me to where I am, but I try to spend more time thinking about where I'm going, being that we can't affect too much of the past. But as far as how I've gotten to where I am in the social media space, in 1997, I decided that it was a time for a change. I started reading a lot about this new thing called the internet, and I got online for the first time and reached out to a whole number of companies that I was reading about. And the one I really targeted and wanted to work for was a company called Yo-Yo9, run by a guy named Seth Godin, who you might have heard of. Seth is a marketing, genius. He coined the term, the first major term he coined was permission marketing. I ended up being fortunate enough to get in his attention, and lo and behold, I actually got a job offer from him at Yo-Yo9. Moved back to New York from Florida, where I had relocated to for a short period of time. Wanted to get back in the New York game. And I went to work at Yo-Yo9, and it was a tremendous experience because I was married at the time with children, and I moved up without them to begin with while we were going through the process of selling our home. And what that did was that led me to be living at my in-laws' house, and I wanted desperately to be out of there every day. So I would get to work every morning at 6 a.m., and Seth is an early bird. So I'd have the office all alone to myself and just Seth, where he'd be sitting eating breakfast, and I would join him, and I was very fortunate to be able to learn a great deal. And anybody that knows me knows I talk a lot, but I learned when I was around Seth to let him do all the talking. And it was fortunate because he was really developing a lot of the principles that guides him now and has led him to where he is. Things about viral marketing, about permission marketing, about online marketing. So I like to say I was really there for what I think was the beginning of online social marketing. I believe everything's social, everything we've always done. It's always been about networking, who you know, building relationships. And it's just that now we have the ability to do it at a much bigger scale, in a much easier way around the clock. So I got involved with Seth. I helped build some products there. I was fortunate to have the only profitable product at Yo-Yo9. So when we got taken over by Yahoo at the end of '98, I got to work with them for a little while the transition was taking place. And I moved through, that was around Web 1.0. I worked with 800 Flowers. While they went public, I was with a company called Bottle Rocket that was building games that got a strategic investment from Electronic Arts. So I've seen this whole thing evolve back from when websites were merely catalogs and replications of what we were doing offline. And websites were really nothing more than online magazines. I sold the first click-through. At Yo-Yo9, we were the first guys that sold a click-through. And to try to explain that to the agencies and make them understand there was no cost per thousand for a banner ad was incredibly difficult. But it led us to learn to deal directly with brands, that you had to take time to let things take hold. So, I moved from there to a number of different companies. We won't go through all that and bore everybody, but in 2008, I landed at a company called Elf Cosmetics, which was an online cosmetics company that had no marketing budget. So you would say, why would a guy take a marketing job, a cheap marketing job, at a company with no marketing budget? Because it really fell in line with a lot of what I did and what I believed. It was a challenge. They had a fairly decent-sized database at the time. They had grown to about $15 million in sales and gotten the attention of a lot of people, but they were having trouble taking it to the next step. And social platforms, Facebook, Twitter, were really just starting to scale. So a lot hadn't been done, and I had the opportunity to not only use them and really get anything approved I wanted to do, because there were two things that were unique about Elf. Number one is they didn't like spending money. So if it was free or just required manpower, they were thrilled. And number two is being they were a smaller company, family-owned, there was no legal team telling me what I could try and what I couldn't try. So I built relationships with a lot of traditional CMOs, people like Jeffrey Hazlett at Kodak, Barry Judge at Best Buy, a few others. And a lot of the conversations I had with Jeff was, he was like, go ahead, try that. That's great, because, you can do anything you want. Let's see if it works. And, I also had a traditional background when it came to the internet, not a traditional marketing background, but digital. So I understood building databases. I understood tele-friend programs. I understood ways to build your email marketing list. And I was a big believer in the power of email, which I still am. I still believe that email is the backbone of everything we do. And people that say it's going away, I don't believe it's going away soon. I also don't believe marketers could survive without it, at least, for the next few years, because of its ability to directly connect with the consumer and give them what they want to see in a broadcast environment, which part of marketing still is. So, we were very fortunate. We were able to grow the database from about 600,000, 700,000 to the 2.4 million mark, which not only helped our business grow, but gave me a tool to trade. So what I did was through our online blog, through a lot of the way we build social, and I guess we'll get into that in a little while, I was able to build a lot of power with traditional marketers to trade their marketing powerhouse ability and the big budgets they had to do TV, to do big online campaigns, and trade and kind of piggyback on them, because I had 2.3 million women that adored us and our product and were an open audience for our partners.
Okay. So you're now at Collective Bias. You're the Chief Marketing Officer there. Can you tell us about what you're doing today?
Sure. Well, just to give you another quick thing, I left Elle Cosmetics. I kind of gotten to the point where we took social, we took the database we had built, it leveraged us into getting a relationship with Target. So now Elle products are in Target stores nationwide. It was a family-owned business. It was time for me to move on. I joined a company called Open Sky. I had built a very big blogger following at ELF. I believe that bloggers are the real power of social, because they have real relationships with their followers. They have a static medium that people tend to read over and over. So I joined a company called Open Sky that was building a platform that enabled bloggers to expand their presence and sell products online. And the reason I'm telling you this is that I built a very large social presence for them in a year. I got 3,000 bloggers on their platform. We had blog posts written by thousands of bloggers about the product. I don't think there's another brand in America that has accomplished that. And what it did was it kept continuing to build my relationship in the blogging community, in the social community, and make people there respect me and want to work with me and understand that I really cared about them. So that was another great stepping stone into Collective Bias, because what Collective Bias does is we are what you call a shopper media company. Now, you might have heard of shopper advertising companies like Mars Advertising, which happens to be the investor in Collective Bias. What they do is they do advertising specifically related to the shopping process, to the shopping community, to understanding that better. What Collective Bias does is we use digital, and we use specifically social, to build media around the shopping process and to map the path to purchase for a consumer, digitally and in the stores. So, and what Collective Bias has done very uniquely to do that, different from other shopper marketing and shopper media companies, is they've built a community over the last 2 years called Social Fabric. That's a private closed community that currently has over 1,100 blogger members that have to be invited or have to ask for an invitation and be accepted. And the major key to that happening, you would think it would be the size of their audience, how many followers they have, but more importantly, it's about the engagement that they do. What we want is people that are engaging their audience, that are speaking to their audience, that are hearing their audience, and that really build what we believe is truly influence. Because influence just isn't how many people are following you. It's how many people are reacting to what you ask them to do. It's how reactive you can make your audience, which is another term I use that I think we'll get into in a little while. So, Collective Bias brought me on as their Chief Social Marketing Officer to help better relationships in the blogging community, to travel to conferences, to build those relationships, to do strategy for big organizations on how to build engagement and interaction with bloggers. Because truthfully, most brands, and I'd say the majority of agencies, do not understand that.
So how do you do it, Ted?
Well, that's a very broad question. But more importantly, and it goes towards, first of all, how do you build relationships in general? So what's